Welcome, everybody, to Right Here, Right Now, the podcast that will help you learn, grow, evolve, and your new beginning starts right here, right now. Welcome back, people. I am Michael Shikatano, and thank you for joining me on Right Here, Right Now, a brand new podcast where we instill in you that being present and practicing mindfulness is the only way to truly be able to learn. And from learning comes growth. Today, we're going to talk about mindfulness, and I really think you're going to enjoy this episode. Now, you may have heard this term tossed around a lot lately, and certainly it can seem like a fad. However, mindfulness has been around for a very long time, thousands of years. Its origins trace back to religions in the East, and it's now gaining traction in the West as its practitioners become more scientific in the application and its potential effects. You have to try it. Hopefully, after you listen today, you'll be engaged and really enthused to try it. I've since used mindfulness meditation as a way to help improve my sleep. I've struggled with sleep over the last few months, but that's definitely a topic for another episode. Hopefully one that doesn't help you with any trouble sleeping that you might be having. Today, we're going to dive into a book that, in my opinion, is one of the best books out there that gets into the science behind mindfulness and how our brain focuses and uses its attention to truly tap into the powerful mindfulness that we all can achieve. The book is called Peak Mind: Find Your Focus, Own Your Attention, Invest 12 Minutes a Day by Amishi Jha. Dr. Amishi Jha is a professor of psychology at the University of Miami. She serves as the director of contemplative neuroscience for the Mindfulness Research and Practice Initiative, which she co-founded in 2010. She received her PhD from the University of California, Davis, and postdoctoral training at the Brain Imaging and Analysis Center at Duke University. She's also been on a few of my favorite podcasts, including 10% Happier with Dan Harris, and most recently on Unlocking Us with the one and only Brene Brown. So we'll dive in a little bit. Amishi says in her book that mindfulness is the capacity to be present, to take in an experience without elaboration, judgment, or reactivity, allowing us to absorb, learn, and discern so much more clearly and effectively than we would otherwise. Now, this definition is just masterful, and it really set the stage for what compelled me to dive deeper into this topic and to actually begin a practice of mindfulness to sharpen my mind. She goes on to say that we engage in mindfulness practice. We learn to keep our attention present in the moment for the unfolding of our lives. Again, it's so profound, right? We're letting life pass us by if we're worried about tomorrow or ruminating about yesterday. We have to be present. We're missing out on our very own lives because our attention is constantly elsewhere. It's not where it should be. And you know where it should be, right? Our attention must be right here, right now. It's like taking pictures when you're out of film. Remember those old cameras? You had to put film in it? Well, if we're not mindfully present, we're not creating memories. We're not experiencing our lives. The most devastating result is that we're just not creating the connections. If we're not here and now, if we're not present in the moment, if we're not paying attention, it's not possible to create connections with other people. We may as well be zombies, right? Going through life, waiting for things to happen to us that might one day jolt us awake. Well, everybody wake up. Hopefully, this is it. Amishi finds that your attention can only be used in the present moment, right here, right now. And what do we use our attention for? According to her research findings, it's really only two things. You use attention for taking action, to do something, and to be receptive, to notice and observe, take that information in. We see, we hear, we feel what is. And if we're using our attention correctly, I believe that these would play off each other in such a beautiful and elaborate harmony, right? Of sense and response, feel, then act then feel. I really think it's the only way we can really experience life's moments. In fact, Amishi has found in her research and has evidence it really is the only way you can truly experience your life and the moments of your life is by paying attention right here, right now. And the mindfulness practice, being present in the moment, allows us to give each experience the attention it deserves. And when we do this, we can live with a peak mind, as Amishi puts it. The peak mind allows us to live fully in the face of all of our ups and downs, the joys, the sorrows, the pleasures, the pain. The mindset allows us to be more resilient and more adaptable. We're aware about what's going on. We're able to sense it, feel it. Anybody that we're dealing with, we can even sense their emotions and feel their emotions if we're paying attention. And we might be able to respond better and be more adaptable to our situations. And the best part of this new science that I learned from this book is that we can work on our concentration, our focus, and our attention can get stronger and we can be better. Like any muscle we work out, we can work out the brain and improve our attention and focus. We will even be able to become more aware of our awareness. Unbelievable. And this is the key. We know we will be distracted. It's going to happen. But being mindful of our attention, identifying where we need to exert our energy and focus our attention on, this is the breakthrough. This is where we can get better. And don't worry, there is an evolutionary aspect of the wandering mind that we must consider. Our minds were built to be distracted. We must understand this. Otherwise, we're going to get too down on ourselves. We'll be too hard on ourselves when we begin to try to practice this mindfulness, and we'll get frustrated thinking there's something wrong with us. But let's go back a little bit into our evolutionary history, really just thinking about how our genes were passed on. A brain that is good at focusing on one thing at a time simply did not survive. It did not do well in the wild, where being a predator's next meal was a real threat. Being distractible allowed the mind to shift its focus on what mattered most in those situations. So like anything else that we want to be better at, knowing our really long history of how our mind is distractible, we can get better, but we must practice. We must work out the mind. And her work is fascinating. It tells us how to be more mindful in the exercises, and she does a wonderful job explaining how it all works. And I don't know about you guys, but understanding why and how something works is crucial for me to be engaged, to be all in for the lesson. So let's get into a little bit of the general theme about how it works. So peak mind uses the concept of your attention being like a flashlight. Think of it like a flashlight, she says. And you're going to focus on a target when it wanders. You notice that it wanders and you refocus back on the target. And the practice begins with breath awareness. And the exercises uses your breath as the target. And the instructions are fairly simple. Simple, but it's not easy to do. It takes practice. You focus your attention on your breath. And when your mind wanders, you return it to your breath. You just have to notice that it's wandering and don't get frustrated. It will wander. It's amazing how often your mind will just wander off. And you're going to do it in a comfortable, upright, seated position and start with a manageable amount of time. She suggests 12 minutes a day. That's what the science shows has a positive impact. But I would start small, couple of minutes, see how you do, but do it daily if you can. And really just work your way up like you would do at the gym. Any exercise that you're going to start, you're not going to really just load up on lots and lots of weights. You're going to start slow. And really the practice is designed to improve our abilities to really notice that initial pull of your focus when your mind is just about to start to wander. And her research team have found that when you're able to find that focus and bring it back, what we're able to do is we waste less time. We experience fewer dips in mood and fewer spikes in stress, and we worry less when we have something important to get done, whether for work, for others, for ourselves. So imagine that you're going to do things quicker. You're going to have a better mood, less stress, less worry. These are all things that have been proven. Start the practice, you'll see it. And I'd say I have a long way to go with my practice, but I noticed that for me, the greatest impact and the change that I've experienced was a better mood and fewer spikes in stress. Now, hopefully those around me notice those changes too. So, right now I've been using the Calm app and found that Tamara Levitt, she's just an amazing practitioner for me. She does these guided meditations that use the breath awareness, and they've worked wonders for me. And I'd like to just end with a simple and profound way to think about mindfulness. Now, Amishi has given us such wonderful, amazing information through the science and the research. And what I'm going to share with you is Teresa McKee. She beautifully describes the practice of mindfulness that I think is going to help the frustrated or maybe intimidated beginner in the practice. Teresa McKee hosts an amazing podcast. It's one of my favorites called Mindful Moment. And she puts the essence of mindfulness so succinctly when she says, it's her tagline at the end of each of her episodes. Here's what she says. She says, your mind will wander, and that's normal. And each time you notice it has wandered, that's mindfulness. It's beautiful. I love it. So check out in the description of this episode. We'll put links to Amishi Jha's website where you can get her amazing books. I think we'll also link to Teresa McKee's podcast since I mentioned it, and it's fabulous. So thank you again for joining us. We hope you enjoyed and have learned a little more about being mindfully present and how living in the moment is the only way to live a life of passion and gratitude, of learning and growing. And the only place and time to do that is right here, right now. See you next time, guys. Join us next week as we talk scarcity, something we've seen far too much of over the last 2 years. Scarcity in products and scarcity in the connections with others, and how we have or maybe have not really been able to deal with our emotional responses to this phenomenon. I'll be taking the unique perspective of the healthcare professional and what distinctive aspects of scarcity have gone on for far too long for us. I look forward to sharing with you. Be present and be mindful, people. Join us next week, right here, right now. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time, right here, right now.